Thank you for the invite. Let me start maybe with something that I owe to someone, that is the colleague Bernard. He should have been here presenting, and also the slides were prepared by him. Unfortunately, last minute he couldn't not make it, but a hi to Bernard and the thank for the work done. Let's start getting into the matter. But before getting a little bit into the matter, let's start with a situation from real life. Elin, imagine that I owe you 1,000 euros and you come to me and say, but Fabrizio, I expected you to give me 1,000 euros. This didn't really happen. And I have to explain to you, I'm sorry, Lynn, I really did with my bank, but you know, banks are slow. Sometimes maybe you have to wait until after the weekend. I mean, wouldn't the world be better if this could never happen and we could have a very efficient way to talk about and to transfer money? Let's talk about non-time critical payments today. And that is the reason why we are here. And it's a wonderful day to be part of the TIPS community today, more than ever. Dimitri was already recalling some figures. For the first time in the weekend, we settled something like 26 million something payments. 26 million times someone in Europe trusted their money with their banks, and their banks trusted TIPS for the final settlement. That's amazing. That's really something beautiful and growing really month by month. And for this, we are really grateful for the whole market. But as TIPS wants to keep providing the highest return on investment, not only for participating into TIPS, but also for the future that TIPS will do, let's talk about the non-time critical payments. So what are these non-time critical payments? As already Dimitri was explaining very well, we are not going to slow down instant payment. This is not about slowing down instant payment. It's rather the opposite. It's like putting the customers of banks admiring their banks because their banks are ready to settle pretty much immediately things that would not need to be settled necessarily in an immediate way. But still, the banks can show to their customer, we are so efficient that we are providing a service of this additional level, another level, a further level, not just the old thing that Elin might have to wait until after the weekend. So the non-time critical are payments that by nature are extending the life cycle of the transaction. So we know that there are very stringent timeouts for instant payments, and that is something that will become even more stringent after the next version of the rulebook in October. And that is extending the life cycle for transactions that do not require an immediate settlement of the payment. So this, in a way, is where flexibility meets efficiency. But it's not the first place TIPS actually that is proposing this, because there are other situations where this has already happened. And so we see already now in the bottom part of the slide that already in the Netherlands and in Australia, this is already used as a functionality, although with some differences here and there. We will elaborate a little bit on this. And this functionality will also be supported by Nexus. So you see that even for a global hub that is supposed to cover the needs more or less of all the advanced economies, and even the not advanced ones, as long as they have some good market infrastructure that can connect to, they are going to provide the possibility to settle with this functionality. So let's go to the next slide. And in the next slide, we see what happens, for example, in the Netherlands. So we have, again, that there is IP processing. That is the secret. IP processing means that there is the same processing as for an instant payment. Andrea will elaborate much more and much better than me, but with a longer timeout. Of course, this mixes up the availability that has to be 24/7 as well as for the SCT Inst, but also with the reliability of the old credit transfer scheme. So this putting together in a way is done by some special code that is used to differentiate the non-time critical from the normal, let's say, regular old, so from the regular instant payments and from the old credit transfers. In Australia, things are a little bit different. So there is, in a way, a decision, a conscious decision of a payer that sets a priority, and the priority can be attended or unattended. This is a way to classify in Australia. I would say that it's not necessarily the only way to do, but I think it's also a very smart way to do in Australia. There is, of course, the real-time confirmation for attended payments. If I am at the taxi and I am going to pay for my taxi, I want to have a real-time confirmation. I don't want to give any extended time to my bank or the bank of the beneficiary. Of course, the payer, PSP, is in control of the flow rate of the unattended payments, and that is where the flexibility plays a really big role. Because here, the control is, in a way, given not only to the payer PSP, but the payer PSP is in control also of the management of the peaks. In a way, it is the whole architecture, if you like, that is going to be used in a way more efficient way. And of course, every payer PSP will always prioritize the attended ones, because those are the ones that cannot be slowed down. Dimitri said it so very well. We cannot afford to introduce this functionality slowing down the instant payment. We are not going to slow down instant payment. We are going to greatly accelerate what today is the old and traditional credit transfer. Of course, the functionality is offered in the NPP, so what is called the new payments platform. And then we go to Nexus. As we said, Nexus will be supporting both time critical and non-time critical. Here it is done in a different way. So differently from Australia, in the Nexus world, we are not going to have necessarily that a payment needs to be attended or unattended to be classified as time critical or non-time critical. The urgency, in a way, is set as a priority level in the PAX 008. So where the priority urgency is set as high, it will be, of course, time critical. And if we consider norm, it will be non-time critical. Sounds easy, isn't it? And still it's not. And of course, again, I would invite all of you not only to watch the panel where all the insights are shared, but also the technical presentation of Andrea Di Martina that will explain how all of this can be achieved without slowing down the instant payments. Now, if we go to the next slide, we have some examples of business case for the non-time critical. Of course, we have the non-batch and non-bulk payments, but we have also the batch and bulk payments. And so on the one hand, we have that we can use non-time critical in addition to the SCT Inst, because of course SCT Inst can always be used. The decision ultimately, thanks to the IPR, is in the hands of the customer. But it's important that also maybe the customer is informed by the bank of this additional possibility that can be really equally good. Let's remember, in the Netherlands, more than 99% of the non-time critical are actually time critically settled. And that is really where the settlement efficiency kicks in. So for the non-batch and non-bulk payments, you can have clearly use cases like standing orders or scheduled payments, also tax payments. Whereas for the batch, well, you know why you can use the batch. So of course, for salaries, pension and social benefits. But here, I think that what is important is that the batch, some banks in a way have the fear that if a batch is sent on the rails of the instant payments, there is the risk that especially small banks might be overwhelmed by the flow of the messages that are arriving. And you don't want to be the bank that is in the situation that has to reject payments just because too much is coming your way and you do not have the capability to to sustain a higher TPS, or the number of transactions per second. So if NTC becomes more spread and more used across all the board of the TIPS customers, this will help the banks to protect their reputation, to make sure that the payments that are for their customers are not rejected just because of some technicalities that they could not figure out how to solve, or maybe for objective difficulty in solving. The advantage here is that we have an alternative to the old SCT and to the new SCT Instant. And from the point of view of the user, this is a positive customer experience, because if I go to Eline and I have sent the 1,000 euros, more than 99% of the time, Eline will see that after a few seconds anyway, in a matter of 3-4 seconds. So I guess that I, as a customer, would be happier with my bank. Eline certainly will be much, much happier with her bank, seeing that she has already received the money. From the point of view of the PSP, we have to differentiate between the sending side and the receiving side. As I said, on the receiving side, it's about protecting your reputation. You don't want to be the one that is slowing down or even rejecting payments. And so ultimately, you have an operational stability that is kicking in. On the sending side, of course, you can optimize the processing, and you have also a way, thanks to the solution that we have in Tips, for not having any interference with other instruments. So the rails are different than the rails for SCT Inst or SCT. And this is quite striking, because the rails are different, but the system is one. We are not going to ask any participant to pay another account maintenance for this. There will be the same participation, but with much more functionality that is provided. Now, if we go to the next slide, we see that, as we said, the non-time critical processing helps to optimize the infrastructure. But here, infrastructure means not only TIPS or CSM, but at all levels. Of course, also the infrastructure of banks. It helps reducing the peak loads. It also ensures the efficiency, but at the same time maintaining practically all the benefits that are coming already with the instant payments. And again, there are some elements here that more or less we already elaborated. Here, one point I would like to make sure, again, we are TIPS. So TIPS means that we take care of the whole ecosystem. We don't take care of TIPS only. That means that the new functionality will be available to all the DCA, but also to all the ASTA, so the so-called ancillary system technical account, or in other words, the accounts that the ACH have on the TIPS platform. We are not going to prevent anybody from using this. And of course, that will become all together with the implementation. If we go to the next slide, that is also the last slide, and it's about a recap on the benefit. Again, we have a processing that is very close to an instant payment, but provides a level of flexibility that is way higher, and still without losing the efficiency of settling, as I said, more than 99% of the times within a few seconds. NTC will also help managing the peaks, as we said. But, you know, there was an important element that was presented in a webinar a few weeks ago, and some ACH, a very big one, an important one, was saying that to go to one leg out SCT Inst will require an investment of 5 to 20% on top of what is for the SCT Inst, what was already done. So you can imagine it's not that much. Well, of course, for NTC, this is much lower, because it is much simpler as a system, as a functionality is simpler. And on top of that, it will replicate the processing of SCT Inst already. So don't be afraid, I would say, to all banks that are thinking that maybe, oh, the level of complexity might create problems. No, it will not. It is just a matter of making the right decision at the right point in time. And the more you use, the more you will realize that it will provide profit to you. It will provide customers satisfaction to your customers. I would not bother anybody by reading all of this. I think that my time has still maybe a couple of minutes. I don't know if there is any question that could be replied here.
Hi, Fabrizio, I'm back. Thank you so much. Thanks for speeding us through the NTC payments. And you know what? I like these non-time critical payments because they just made me another 2,000 euros. So I'm happy to see this come in. So thanks for that. There are a few questions coming. I think we've answered a lot of them, but we will probably go through them in the panel. So you guys are, ahead of us. But here is just a reminder. This is where you can scan and shoot questions into us. And I'll just let Fabrizio quickly go through here as well, and then spend 30 seconds with all of you on where do you find all this stuff on our web pages, because what we have noticed today is that we have actually a lot of new comers with us today, that people that have not joined our sessions before. So I just want to let you all know where you can find stuff on the website, because it can be a bit of a jungle. So once you're at the ECB website, you want to go to payments and financial stability, top level of the band there. And here you click, and then you can come into the target services as you see on the screen now, and then you can move over to tips. Once you get there, there is a section of professional use documents. And here you can find anything that's related to tips. So anything we would do, we will post here. So if you are already a participant or planning to join tips, this is the place to find information about tips. There's another place we just want to briefly highlight for all of you, which is on the next slide here. Again, same place, payments, financial stability, the most important place of the ECB website. There's a section called payments, news and events. And that's the place we have highlighted in yellow where you go and find, for instance, this focus session where you can see the live stream, where you will see new events. And the same place is also where you find anything related to news. So that was just, a little heads up to everyone who isn't familiar with our sessions today. And then I have let Fabrizio take a 30-second breather.
I tried to scan. It's amazing, but of course we cannot reply to all of them. But there is an interesting question. Well, many are interesting, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so there is someone asking that do we consider tips as a backup solution of regular SCT? This is something different from SCT. If regular SCT works, why to change? Eileen, would you like to change that when money comes to you, you don't have to wait for a weekend, but you have to wait 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Multiply this by more than 300 million inhabitants in Europe, and you will see why banks should come to this. If banks don't care for all the elites of Europe, okay, you can remain in the old world. But if you want to provide a service that makes your customer proud of you, that is the way you have to do it. That will also create the possibility for banks to charge on different services. So in the end, once again, tips will remain a great occasion for getting more profit and for having a higher return on investment at every level. I think, Eileen, that my time is already gone, so I will stop also because the panel is so interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. Thank you, Fabrizio.